Hello friends, welcome back to another video. If you're new and not subscribed, I'm Kayla Bame, and you should really think about subscribing to my channel because the bestest, most greatest things in the world happen when you do that. So, subscribe. For today's video, wasn't actually my idea at all. I was in the Dollar Tree with my mom, the KB Creations, because that's like our favorite place to go lately. It's always been our favorite place to go, but I have to sneeze. Okay, I was checking out the art section because I like to look at all the, I like to look at the frames, I like to look at all the glitter and the art stuff that they have, because sometimes they have canvases, and I paint on canvases, so, sorry. I was checking out the art section with all the canvases and stuff, and then my mom comes up to me with these round glass things. Had no idea what they were, but she comes up to me with this round glass thing, and she says, "You need to do a glass painting on a trivet." And I said, "What the heck is a trivet?" A trivet is one of those things that you put under a hot plate or a hot pan or something, so it's not sitting on your counter. I guess that's what a trivet is. I had no idea that's what that thing was called. I just called it like the hot plate thing. But you know, that's just me, okay? But she told me, "Here, look, it's glass. You think you can paint this?" And I said, "Yes, of course I can paint that, KB." So this one is for Mom. Okay, party people, for this glass painting, we are going to be painting on a Dollar Tree glass trivet. And this is the reference picture I'm using. It's a very colorful rooster. I felt like this was farmhouse, you know? But I'm gonna face the trivet face down. And basically what I'm doing is painting the back of the trivet, so then when you flip it around, the picture looks all nice. But make sure you put some tape on that bad boy because you don't want it moving all over the place. And as always, I'm going to be using this ultra fine tip oil paint pen by Craftsmart to outline all the lines for my rooster. And honestly, the Craftsmart paint pens are probably the best ones that I've used so far. I have tried different ones. For example, Sharpie has oil-based paint pens, and they are so bad. I got the white one to do the highlights, like the small highlights such as the ones on his feet, claws, whatever the heck a rooster has. And the marker by Sharpie worked for a couple of paintings, a couple of small things, and then for whatever reason, the paint just wasn't there anymore. It was just all the oil, so it stopped working, and I tried pumping the pen a little bit so more paint would come through, and it spilled out, but then nothing was coming out when I was trying to draw with it. So I think by far the Craftsmart paint pens are the way to go. And this was the Sharpie paint pen that I was talking about. It's a white oil-based pen by Sharpie. It was working okay here, but when I went to go use it again after this project, it wasn't working. It was broken. The only thing that was coming out was oil. So I'm thinking these aren't the best pens on the market. Anyway, the first color I'm using is going to be Mediterranean blue, and this blue is going to be for the darker blue feathers on the rooster. And if you're wondering why I decided to do a rooster, my mom told me when I paint this trivet to do a farmhouse trivet, and I'm not very farmhousey, so the only thing that came to my mind when she said farmhouse was a rooster. So that's why I'm doing a rooster. The next color I'm using is mustard yellow, also for
the feathers and the main part of the rooster's chest, I guess? I don't know what to call it. It's his chest, alright? I am also using all Craft Smart paint, and with Craft Smart paint or even Apple Barrel paint, for some reason in the past I've had issues with it bubbling when I layer the paint, so I try and do one thick layer that will cover the whole thing. Nothing will see through, because when I start layering stuff, for some reason bubbles come up in the paint. I don't have the bubbling problem as much when I use a paint like Artist Loft, where it's a premium acrylic paint. However, if you know the difference between Craftsmart and Apple Barrel and then premium acrylic paints, even with a cheaper brand like Artist Loft, the paint is super thick and it's almost like the texture of toothpaste. And when I'm doing glass paintings like this, sometimes it makes it a bit more difficult to get finer details in smaller areas. So for this trivet, I decided to use Craftsmart paint. Then I used the color Aqua for the aqua tail feathers. Can you believe that? I used Aqua for the color Aqua. I will say I did enjoy doing this trivet painting just because it's so different from what I normally do. And if you don't know what I normally do, I'm a massive anime and manga geek. So literally everything that I paint and draw of my interest, I always do anime characters. So this was a fun change because it's different and I've never painted a rooster before in my life. So this was fun. The next color I'm using is called Terracotta. I don't. Where do they come up with these paint names? Terracotta. Isn't that interesting? But I used Terracotta for the color that I would call orange, but I guess terracotta is a form of orange, whatever. I used this for the orange parts, this big tail feather part, the little tail feathers. Terracotta. Can someone also explain to me what the heck a trivet is? This is the first time I've ever heard that word used for this item. Usually I call it like a hot plate thing, but I guess the proper term for it is trivet? Who called it that? What is a trivet? Why is it called a trivet? Then I used a simple white paint for the beak and the little white spot on the cheek. I don't know why that's there. Maybe it's just pattern on the rooster. It's his cheekbone, okay? He has white cheekbones. And for the darker red color, I used burgundy because, fun fact, burgundy is a darker shade of red. Is that correct? I act like I know color palettes, but I have no idea. Like, these names are crazy. Burgundy's a darker red. It looks like a dark red to me. Dark red. Burgundy. It's the same thing. Then I used pink for his feet. Also, for smaller details, like there was little white lines for highlights on his feet, I just used the paint pen for that because typically it's a bit easier to do smaller details like that with a fine tip pen than it is with a paintbrush. Maybe I'm just not master painter over here, but I prefer to use the paint pen because it's smaller and easier to control. So for small details like that, I just use a paint pen. The next color I used is bright red, and this was the color I was using for his face. Is that what you call it? Roosters still have faces, right? Yeah, this is his face, his neck area, and his little hair up top. And for the last color, I'm going to be using black, and this black paint is going to go everywhere else that is not filled in right now, because I guess this rooster has black feathers? I don't know if that's a normal thing, but our rooster has black feathers, and since everything else is somewhat dry, I was using a little hand dryer It's not a blow dryer, it was the ray gun, if you know what I'm talking about. It's that blue thing that heats stuff up and it dries it. Okay, I was using that to make sure the paint was somewhat dried. So when I'm doing this black, I'm just gonna go right over previous layers, not really worrying about it because it's dry. And trust me, it'll look fantastic, okay? And are you guys ready for the reveal? Here's the back. Boom! Look at how nice that looks. Super different for me, but it was super fun, and I actually really like the way that it turned out. So, I'm Farmhouse now.
Alright, that is it for today's video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave in the comments down below what you thought of my glass painted Dollar Tree trivet. Yeah, this was completely KB's idea. I would have never even thought to paint a trivet, considering I didn't even know what a trivet was. And usually they're like in the kitchen, and I thought, I can't do an anime painting on a trivet. That's just kind of not fitting at all. And because KB was the one who told me to do it, I was like, oh yes, rustic farmhouse trivet. But in my head, rustic farmhouse trivet equals rooster. So that's why I painted a rooster on there. But I'll see you guys back here next time. Peace.